Thank you for watching the Red and Blue Review presented by the Kia store in the Winton Law Group. Super Bowl Sunday coming up next week. Cats and Cards well represented for the Steelers. Former Louisville defensive back William Gay, and what's new at Kentucky for the second straight year, a Wildcats in the Super Bowl. DB?
How about punter Tim Mastay? May have been the MVP of the game. Done a tremendous job. He's one of those that we knew coming out of college he was really good, and why he didn't immediately stick with the team is always kind of a mystery, but he's caught on just in time with the right team, and how about it, playing in the Super Bowl?
That's what's new at Kentucky. What's new at the University of Louisville is the emergence of Elisha Justice. You know, freshman basketball players are a lot like new doctors after they take the Hippocratic Oath. The idea, don't cause any harm. And that's pretty much the way Elisha's been playing so far this season, just trying to make sure he didn't make any mistakes. And Coach P says it's time for that to change.
He did give good minutes. He looked for his shot, which I was happy about. He hasn't been doing that. You know, it's he needs to step up and try to be a factor in the game, not to hurt you. You know, and that's what every player needs to do is be a factor, not to just make sure he didn't hurt you. That's not a very good compliment.
It isn't a very good compliment, and I think he's going to earn a lot more compliments during his college career at the University of Louisville. And I think the other thing is, what's new at the University of Louisville is his ability to shoot. I think he'd gone 2 or 3 games without really taking a shot, an open shot. A lot of times he'd pass it up for a different shot, hit a couple big threes, and I think he can do that more often. I really like Elisha Justice. I don't like the Bullet nickname. I like Elisha Justice. I think he's going to do great things for Louisville.
What's next at the University of Kentucky and the University of Louisville and every major college football across the plains? Signing day, in which high school football stars can make their bid for where they're going to play college football. And DB, what's next for the University of Kentucky? A big decision coming out of Boyle County and football star Lamar Dolson.
Best player in the state, Kentucky's Mr. Football, and he's made it very clear, I'm not saying a word until 9 a.m. on signing day, February 2nd. Let me surprise you here, Mr. Gupton. Everybody's so down on this football program, and 6-7 records stunk up the bowl game. Guess what? Even without Lamar Dolson, this is the best recruiting class they've ever had since Brooks got here. All 3-star players have verbally committed, not a single 2, a couple of 4-star guys. This would be the cream of the crop if they can get Lamar Dolson, and they need to get Lamar Dolson, because you think back, Micah Johnson was the best. He came. Tim Couch, he came. Dennis Johnson years ago, he came to UK. You can't let the guy get out of Boyle County and end up at some place like Oregon.
Well, that's the kind of malaise that settled over the Kentucky football program after the way they closed out the season. Maybe they can recover some of that buzz on signing day. Well, what's next at the University of Louisville? Humble recruits on the basketball side. You know, Rick Pitino always likes to talk about players having the PhD, being poor, hungry, and driven. Well, he says the next bunch of Cardinal recruits are coming in that H could stand for humble.
So we're very lucky. We don't have the entitlement type basketball player. And I even think these highly rated players we're bringing in, you have to know Wayne Blackshear's mom to know he's not going to be entitled to anything, because she always has her foot up his butt if he doesn't do the right thing. So
you want from a recruit's parents especially is that for them to have their foot up their butt most of the time. Those make for the best recruits. They really do. Having involved parents that really get after a kid, and I think that's going to make Wayne Blackshear a good player for Louisville. I think that's what's going to make Shane Bohannon a good player for Louisville, and Price as well here in town. I think what Louisville's got is a good collection of recruits that could all be good players in Rick Pitino's system coming in.
Now, guys, I got to ask you, how in this generation of every kid, from the star to the bench warmer who wears tattoos sporting what great players they are, is there anybody in college basketball who's really humble? Come on.
No.
Darryl, what do you think about that?
I see a lot of it in UK, and quite frankly, Brandon Knight's very humble. He was, at one point, the highest-rated player in the country last year, but he is very humble, and you saw a lot of that on this roster, and DeAndre Liggins, in his own way, is that way, too.
Well, what's nuts at both programs is what's going on at the University of Tennessee with their basketball coach. Now, you remember the whole controversy. Bruce Pearl got in trouble for lying to the NCAA in an investigation that is now broadened to include the football, the basketball, and the baseball programs at UT. But what is absolutely nuts is the idea that the SEC, Darryl, has put Bruce Pearl on probation, yet he was allowed to interrupt the probation and coach against UConn.
Yeah, that's the only thing nuttier than him showing up painted orange in that graphic that we have there. Yeah, how do you impose a suspension But, oh, by the way, you're going to play somebody good like UConn, and you can come back and coach again. It makes no sense what's going on in the NCAA, and even the SEC is getting involved. The whole deal with Cam Newton, you're suspended. No, you're not suspended. Go play in the title game, and we'll give that trophy back later on. But, yeah, I agree. If Bruce Pearl is suspended, you either are or you're not. And why you randomly choose which games and come back, here you're out, now you're out again, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's really kind of insane the way they're doing it.
Because you look at what these schools get so angry with the NCAA about, and it's a selective enforcement. Well, the schools are guilty of it too. I mean, you got Ohio State not suspending the players till next year when they're not even going to be there. Tennessee thinking that they're only going to suspend, well, SEC only going to suspend him for little bits and pieces of the season, and he can kind of pick and choose the games. I mean, essentially they should just say, pick the 6 games that you'd like to be suspended for, and that's what you do. If a coach was doing this to his players, and that's what USC got in trouble with. That's what Lane Kiffin got in trouble with for selecting which games and which halves they're going to be suspended for. They'd be roasted in the media. And truthfully, I think Bruce Pearl should be roasted. The SEC should be roasted for this as well.
Well, it is punishment with really out much teeth, guys. I think if you're going to send a message to these coaches, cheating is one thing, which none of us support, but lying to the NCAA takes it to a whole different level. Not that I have any sympathy for the guys with the NCAA, but if they were really serious about punishing UT, they would say that Bruce Pearl not only cannot be in the arena 2 hours before the game and during the game, that he couldn't even coach them in practice. What do you guys think about that?
Either you're going to take it seriously or you're not, and this was kind of the second go-around with him. So I'm with you. I thought the penalty would have been much more harsh than what it's been.
Howie, give me your take on that.
You just wonder at what point, so many times with NCAA, the coaches kind of escape. They just move on to another program or something like that. And I think, the punishments do need to get harsher on coaches. Maybe have contract restrictions, those kind of things. This would be a case where they could really come down hard on a coach. I think that's probably the next wave of NCAA enforcement. They always choose some form or factor to get tough on. This might be the next one.
All right, DB, in about 15 seconds, Kentucky lost at Georgia. What's going to happen this weekend when the Dogs come to play the Cats?
I never get a chance to quote Ricardo Montalban from Star Trek Wrath of Khan. Revenge is a dish best served cold. It's coming for you, Georgia.
And Howie, UConn already beaten the Cats. They would love to do a Commonwealth sweep. What's going to happen this weekend?
It's not going to be good. I hope that Louisville goes up there and wins, but I don't see it happening. I mean, UConn is going to be too tough. I think Louisville falls up there.
Well, the fun thing is for us to follow it with you as we walk through the rest of this college basketball season. About to hit February, about to get serious into March time, and we'll track it all for you right here on the Red and Blue Review.
The Red and Blue Review is presented by the Winton Law Group and by the Kia Store, the Floor Store, the Bachman Auto Group, Home Run Burgers and Fries, and Sam Swope.